So here we have our front piece, the left side front piece, the right side front piece. We're going to be joining them together using 1/2 inch sewing allowance each. So for the center front, we join it to the side front piece using the pin. After we pin it from the low waistline all the way down to the base or the full length line. Also, after that, we mark with a chalk using 0.5 inch sewing allowance and then stitch it all the way down to the full length. We do the same thing to the other side. We also have to be very careful about the roll pin. Make sure no part of your fabric overlaps each other. Let it just sit directly on top of the other one, just like our fold sits on the other fold. So pin it and place the other one on top of it. So we stitch, we pin, mark, and then we stitch using 0.5 inch sewing allowance. So for you to start, you have to lock your stitch. So after stitching, you also stitch the other side of it using 1/2 inch sewing allowance. So always remember to mark, remember to back stitch too. You come forward, you go backward, then you continue. The essence of back stitching is to be able to lock your stitch so that you would have a firmer stitch there and it doesn't start loosening from that particular edge. So when you get to the edge of your skirt, which is the base, the foot width, you also lock up your stitch front, backwards, cut off neatly. Then look what our skirt looks like. So your front piece should be just like this when you're done. So if it's not like this, you might have made some mistakes. So just check it out and then do the same thing to yours. I'm waiting to see the results of your finished work. Please don't forget to post, don't forget to tag me. And this is what your back looks like. When we're done with the back, we open it up, we iron it, we call it open seam ironing. So we iron it. That stuff I just did is the notching. It's called notching of the knee line. So when you notch, there is usually this kind of tension we have on the knee point. When you notch, you reduce the tension. You notch, you cut your fabric slightly, but you don't cut your thread. So here we have the back piece. So for the back piece now, we have to align the right points together. The way this back piece is cut, you tend to think that both sides are the hip sides. So what we'll do is that we'll notch the non-hip sides, more like in this case this is the darted area. So we'll notch the part that will be joined to the center back. So we'll notch it so that we will know that it's not the hip area. So we'll get the center back pieces, which are 2. We have the left center back piece and we have the right center back piece. So we place them. This is the zip area, so you can see that clearly. So we have the place that joins to the side back piece. So okay, you can see the dart shape coming out there because I actually darted this particular pattern. Like I said, I'm going to share the video on how to dart the back piece pattern. So then I'll still pin it together and then join it all the way down using 1/2 inch sewing allowance. There is no magic in this. The only magic is stick to the formula and just do it. As you're watching this video now, you just see the little things I do. These are little things that matter in dressmaking. Just stick to them. There are no shortcuts. Just stick to them and then do them. When you learn the rules, you can also learn to break the rules much later. But that's of course after you've learned the rules. So remember your 1/2 inch sewing allowance. So you mark your 1/2 inch, you back stitch, you stitch all the way down to the full length. Remember, we always notch the knee to allow it to balance on the knee point. We notch by making a little cut just on the knee sewing allowance. We don't let it cut the main fabric. Okay, so here it is, we have it. So we're almost done with this particular piece. We're going to do to the other piece exactly what we've done to this piece. So you see, it's very easy. So we take it to the iron, we open it up. So we're having a little bulgy shape because that's what we want. So we'll do to the other piece, we'll do to it. So here is our lining, all joined just exactly the same way we join our fabric with the hard gum stay. So here is the base of the fabric. We notch the base of the fabric, we notch the base of the lining, just like we did to the skirt piece. So this video is a sequence. So for you to be able to follow up this particular piece, you have to have watched the other one. But even at that, this is the base of the lining. We join the base of the lining to the base of the main fabric. Note, we've notched them. So we place the notched points together. It's very important you place the notched points together so that you note that this is your middle. So from that point, you start pinning. You pin to the left, you pin to the right. You just make sure your lines align and you sew it using half-inch sewing allowance. Very clean, very neat, very classy. It's one thing to actually watch the video and know how it's done. It's another thing to actually practice and see how it's done. So from the edge, we'll mark 0.5 inch sewing allowance. Please, you need your chalk. You need it to be very clear so that you can be seeing the lines you're marking on. You can note I backstitched. I removed the needle. You wouldn't want the machine needle to break and get into your eye or any other delicate part of your body. So you just have to be very careful. I always backstitch when I come to this seamed junctions. Okay, so here we are on the V point, the center point of the skirt. So we're going all the way down to the other edge. Sometimes you might have a little excess, just like I do here, but then you just stitch down. There are minor errors, you can always trim off later. So you drag the lining up to the head. Remember, we shortened by 1.5 inches, so that means normally the lining should not be able to get to the upper part of the fabric, but then we'll drag it up so that we can have that, you know, slight neat flip down that we also have in our pencil skirts. So we pin it and pin it all along the side. So so you can see the flip. So we also do the same thing. Okay, you can see me dragging it up here. Then you also pin it and stitch it all the way down to the full length. Now everything you do about 6-piece skirt making is very important. The steps you take, the way you cut your lining, the way you place your lining on the fabric, it is very important. One of the most challenging things in 6-piece skirt making is imbalance. Imbalance is a situation whereby after making the skirt, it's as if one part is just drooping. It's not really lapping. It's not really balanced. So most times we deal with it because of the nature of the lining we use, which is cotton lining. I would recommend that because it's more durable than MJB lining. MJB lining gets too weak when you soak it in water. But then for 6-piece lining, it helps to get that stand without having much imbalance issue. But then in a situation whereby you cut it right and still have imbalance, and okay, here our work is ready. So I'm checking for imbalance right now. We're going to iron the sides, iron the left, iron the right. Now this is what our back looks like. Remember, we did to the lining just what we did to the fabric. The only thing was that we added hard gum stay to the lining and we didn't add hard gum stay to the fabric. Hard gum stay gives a kind of effect. Sometimes it gives sometimes air spaces and all that. You wouldn't want that appearing on your main fabric, so we just stick to doing it on the lining instead. So the essence of pinning it is so that I can balance it, then check again and double check for imbalance and all that. So this is the back piece, and we're going to do to the back piece just what we did to the front piece. So we're going to join it on the base using 1.5 inch sewing allowance, and after joining it on the base, we drag it upwards and then stitch on the side and turn it all the way to the front. So you see, it's very easy. All you have to do is practice. It's not just enough to watch this video and say you've registered for an online course. You really have to practice. So the smaller part is the center back piece, is the one that contains the zip piece, is one that contains the tail too. Then the bigger part is the side piece, and we are going to iron all the sides after we're done turning it. So here we are, we raise it again, we start stitching all the way down. So if you have any challenges in this video, feel free to ask questions, feel free to send messages. I would always be glad to respond. Don't forget to send me your finished projects. Just take it one step after the other. You're going to get it just perfectly. So trim off the excesses on the edge, notch the knee. There's always a kind of we need the knee to be relaxed, so that's why we keep notching. Okay, so we turn over, and here, look what we have. Ta-da! Beautiful. So we take it to the iron, we'll iron the sides. I'll pin the upper part so that I can check for imbalances. If it's not balanced, I'm going to find a way to balance it. Most times I balance by adding a bit of fabric to it. So the next phase of this video would be where we'll join the back piece and fix the zipper, and join the front piece to the back piece